Daniel Hayes was a quiet rancher who lived on the far edge of a dusty little town where nothing ever seemed to change. He was the kind of man who rose before sunrise, worked until the horizon turned orange, and ended his days sitting alone on the creaking wooden porch of his ranch house. His world was simple: quiet land, cattle, chores, and long stretches of silence. People respected him. He was honest, hard-working, and steady. But he wasn't close to anyone. He didn't go to town dances, didn't stay for Sunday gatherings, and rarely spoke more than he had to. Life was predictable, calm, uneventful. Until one evening when everything shifted. Daniel had spent the day at the cattle market, selling a few animals and buying supplies. On his way back, he passed the old auction building at the end of Wardtown. Usually he rode by without a second glance, but tonight a small crowd gathered outside, whispering and staring inside. Curiosity wasn't his habit, yet something tugged at him. He dismounted, tied his horse, and stepped inside. An older auctioneer stood behind a table piled with boxes, old clothes, faded papers, small personal belongings. None of that interested Daniel. What caught him was the young woman standing beside them. She was in her early 20s, wearing a faded dress and holding a small worn bag. Her brown hair was tied back loosely, and her eyes were exhausted, tired in a way that came from struggle, not sleep. Every time the auctioneer barked a sentence, she flinched just a little. "She can't take her father's documents," the man complained. "Fees ain't paid. Someone has to cover the balance." People shrugged, muttered, shook their heads. It wasn't cruelty, just indifference. Everybody in that town had their own troubles. But Daniel felt something twist uncomfortably in his chest. The girl looked like someone who had been fighting alone for far too long. These weren't items she wanted to buy, they were the last papers her father left behind. Legal documents, birth records, letters. Without them, she had nothing. The auctioneer sighed. "If nobody helps, she's gonna be here, till we figure out what to do with all this." Before Daniel even understood why, he stepped forward. "How much does she owe?" The crowd turned, surprised. Daniel Hayes wasn't known for getting involved in anything. The auctioneer checked his notes. "Not much. But more than she's got. Her father passed last winter." Fees kept adding up. Daniel didn't think twice. He took out his wallet, counted the bills, and laid them on the table. "Let her have what she needs." The room murmured. The young woman stared at him, stunned. She didn't understand why a stranger would help her. Once the payment was confirmed, the auctioneer handed her a box filled with her father's belongings. She held it to her chest like the last fragile piece of her world. Daniel turned to leave. He had done his part. But before he reached the door, the girl hurried toward him. "You paid for me," she said, her voice trembling. "Now finish it." Daniel froze. "Finish what?" Tears welled in her eyes. I don't have anywhere to go. No home. No family. I've been sleeping in abandoned places since the weather turned cold. People look at me like I don't belong anywhere." Her voice wasn't demanding, it was desperate, honest, exhausted. "I'm not asking for anything wrong," she whispered. "I just don't want to be left here alone." Daniel stood silent for a long moment. Helping someone with money was one thing. Bringing them into his world was another. He wasn't a man who rushed decisions. But he couldn't walk away. Not after seeing the fear in her eyes. "Come with me," he said finally. "You can stay at the ranch until you decide what comes next." Her shoulders loosened. Relief washed over her face. "Thank you," she whispered. "My name is Maria." "I'm Daniel." He helped her mount his horse, making sure she sat steady before climbing behind her. The ride back was quiet but not uncomfortable. Maria held her father's box close the entire time. Daniel's ranch was simple, a small house, a barn, a wide porch, and miles of open land. He led her inside and opened the spare room. "You can stay here. It's not much, but it's safe." Her eyes warmed. "It's more than I hoped for." Daniel nodded awkwardly. "Rest. We'll talk in the morning." But he didn't sleep much that night. Her words kept echoing in his head, "You paid for me. Now finish it." Not as a possession. As a lifeline. Maria, in her room, opened the little box. Her father's letters. His pocket watch. Old photos. She ran her fingers across them and breathed deeply. For the first time in months, she felt safe. The ranch felt different that night. Less empty. At sunrise, Daniel was already outside feeding the horses when Maria walked out. She read the note he left her about breakfast and approached him shyly. "You slept all right?" he asked. "Yes. Thank you, for everything. You can help around the ranch if you want," he said gently. "Only if you're comfortable." "I want to," she said quickly. So he taught her. Feeding chickens. Sorting tools. Cleaning the barn. She learned fast, moved with careful effort, determined not to be a burden. At noon they ate under the old tree. She admired the land, open skies, golden grass, slow wind. "It's beautiful here," she said softly. "It's quiet," Daniel replied. "But it's home. Do you live here alone?" He nodded. "Parents passed years ago." She lowered her eyes. "I'm sorry." He shrugged. "Life happens. We keep going." Storm clouds rolled in suddenly. Daniel pointed at the horizon. "We need to bring the cattle in." "I'll help," she offered immediately. He wanted to tell her to stay safe inside, but her determination wouldn't let him. Together they fought the rising wind, guided the cattle, secured the gates. Rain slammed down, thunder cracked, and they ran into the barn just in time. Maria trembled from the cold, so Daniel draped his jacket around her. "They're calm," she said, looking at the horses. "They feel safe here," he replied. His words hit her deeply. Later, after the storm passed, they returned to the house. The fire warmed the room, and Maria stared into it quietly. "You thinking about your father?" Daniel asked. She nodded. "He worked hard like you. He tried to give me a good life." She swallowed. "When he died, everything just collapsed." "You did what you could," Daniel said gently. "Sometimes life takes more than we can stop." Tears filled her eyes. She wiped them quickly. "I don't want to bring sadness here." "This is your home too," Daniel said before realizing what he said. "Home," she whispered. "For now," he added softly. "You're safe here." Weeks passed, then months. The ranch slowly filled with warmth, Maria's footsteps, her laughter, her gentle singing in the mornings. Daniel found himself talking more, listening more, smiling more. People in town noticed. The once stoic rancher now walked with a girl at his side. A girl who trusted him. Who belonged at his ranch in a way nobody expected. One afternoon, Maria asked him quietly, "Do you think about the future?" Daniel paused. "Sometimes." "What do you see?" "A quiet life," he said. "A steady ranch. Someone to share it with." Her heart fluttered. But before she could reply, a woman from town rode up with news. "I found your father's cousin," she told Maria. "He says you can come live with him if you want. You have family." Maria stood frozen. Daniel's expression didn't change, but something inside him went still. "You should think about it," he said later. "Family matters." Maria nodded, but pain twisted inside her. She barely slept that night. The ranch was the first place she felt safe in months. Daniel was the first person she trusted. Choosing to leave felt like tearing herself in half. The next morning she stepped outside, trembling. "Daniel," she whispered. He turned. "Yes. If I leave, will you be all right?" Daniel took a deep breath. "I've lived alone before. I can do it again." Her heart broke a little. "I'll think about it," she whispered. But deep down, she already knew. Leaving the ranch meant leaving the only real home she'd ever found. Leaving Daniel meant leaving the man who had given her safety, dignity, and hope. And she didn't know if she was strong enough to do that.